and Molly. And we're here to record Let's Talk About the Real Shit podcast. Molly is a professional therapist, a healer, a very important role in this world. And we thought it would be a really wonderful timing and idea to bring her on today to talk about a pretty major issue that's going on in the world because of what's happening around us, which is mental health, depression, and stress and anxiety. So we're going to have a lot of fun, you guys, talking today, supporting each other, sharing some different tools and ideas on how we can help these people who are really suffering. And there are people that are around us. Even right now, we're quarantined with some of them. So this is going to be really helpful podcast, guys. Please tune in and share with your friends because we all definitely need the extra tips right now. So before we get started, Lori, you pulled a card for us today, right?
I did pull a card today. And you're going to laugh when you hear this card. Because the title of this one is called Friendliness.
Oh, yay!
Right?
Yes.
Whenever I smile, I make someone's day better. What a cool way to buy happiness for free. Today, I will remember what an awesome power I hold, and I'll take joy in improving lives simply by giving away grins like crazy.
Oh, my God. That was my whole talk. We're done. We're done.
That's how the universe works, man.
You got it.
That's appropriate for sure. I definitely, when I've been going out on my walks, I'm always friendly, but just extra hello to everybody because it's like, oh, we're seeing another human.
Well, just today when I was starting my walk, the man walking in front of me, at a more than social distance, turned around and he said, "Hi, I think we live in the same community. My name is blah, blah, blah. And I just wanted to say hello to another human."
Oh, that's so sweet.
I know, right?
Yes.
When I lived in Africa, which is a Francophone country, I kind of was annoyed a little bit after I'd lived there for a month because every time you walk down the street, it's bonjour, 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 bonsoir, 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 bonsoir. And, it was like everybody greeted everybody. And then in America, you get back and you just pass people like they don't even exist. And I'm finding that everybody I'm meeting on the path is saying, hello, how are you doing? And I think this pause that the universe has given the whole earth, mind you, is taking us all back to our core values, back inside a little bit about what's really, really important. And that's connection with other humans. And taking a minute to pause and look. I'm like enjoying the spring like I've never enjoyed it because I'm pausing to look at the plants every day and see where they're at in their life cycle. And it's just amazing at the little things that are bringing joy these days.
What have you noticed this week, Molly?
Well, I think this is such a perfect, this is really what it's about. Friendliness is, it's just, it encourages another person.
We're on Molly pause.
Did you lose me? Oh, good. But I've always felt I grew up in a small town where our friend Naomi is also aware of, and you never passed a single person without saying, hello, how's your mom? Oh, did your son get a job? So I am the person to go for walks with, and Portland because people are like, do you have to talk to every person and every single animal? And like, yes, I do. And I have to pet them. So this has been really hard to not touch. But I have to say, I think really number one, you never know what's happening in somebody's world, in their internal world. And a smile goes a long way. Just a quick check-in.
Right.
I mean, the tone is super important as well. Just that little extra chipper in your voice can make somebody smile, and that's all it takes right now. Because people are starting to notice, which is, I feel, is part of maybe the new vibration that's also happening, is that for the first time globally, where the planet is, we all have to rest. We are forced to rest. So I think globally, this is the first time this has ever happened, and I feel like it was meant to happen because that's what it takes for some people to learn, that lesson. And we kind of have to get to that space and be forced into that place where we can look within ourselves without all the busy part of which actually right now I should say the world is busy because there's a lot of noise. There's a lot of fear-based media happening. I mean, it's insane right now. So I think that actually kind of leads into talking to you, Molly, is that a lot of people are living their life fear-based right now, and they're very, very scared. So let's tap in a little bit on that and what your thoughts are.
Well, my first thing I ever ask anybody is, how much of the news are you watching? How much are you distancing psychically? We're doing our social distancing, our physical distancing, but what about our psychic distancing, our emotional distancing? Right now, we are infiltrated on every single level with information, and it is not necessary to know exact numbers of how many people are sick and how many are going to die. It is crucial that people with anxiety and OCD and depression actually just follow the guidelines, turn off the news, and work on just keeping themselves comfortable. We were talking about this before we started the podcast, but challenges are is something to arise to rather than to feel defeated by. But when you're depressed, you're already at such a vulnerable state. You wake up in the morning in depletion. And then to have on top of that added just more and more fear, scarcity, it's impossible for people with mental illness to rise above that without literally taking behavioral action. It's not a mind frame. It definitely isn't. It takes more than that. It takes action. And that's one of the hardest things to do when you're depressed or when you're isolated.
I think you hit on a really key word there, Molly, and that's behavior. And I think this virus has forced everybody to take a look at our behaviors, and it's forced us to change our behaviors. We've had to change our behaviors to help flatten the curve and help stop, the spread of this disease, to do our part. And a lot of that goes to being by yourself and like you said, you can be inundated by the noise. It's almost like there's two options when you're in this situation. You're either inundated by the noise because you can't get away from your phone, your laptop, your television, or then there's the quiet. And the quiet can be just as disruptive for some people. I thrive in quiet, but it can be very disruptive for some people too. So it's the behaviors in both of those situations. How do we adapt? How do we adapt to those behaviors?
It is funny because the folks that I work with who have social anxiety are doing so well right now. They do not need appointments. They're like, oh my God, my problem's gone. But then there are those who really don't have a sense of themselves unless they are around others. So I have been joking around about how the extroverts are going to be the death of us, but we do have to look at also addictions. When you talk about behaviors, we're stuck with our behaviors. It comes to light pretty quickly where our challenges are. And I'm especially conscious of the addicts at this time who are dealing with addictive behavior that loves isolation, that loves the secret. And this is a time where it's pretty easy to rationalize your addiction when, who knows, are you even going to live through this? I mean, that's how a lot of the thinking is. So anyway, that's another group.
Well, and my fear is for survivors and or probably now more so victims, true victims of domestic violence, because they're locked in with their abuser who is more than likely and has an addiction to something, if not their narcissistic selves. And, that has just got to be hell on earth right now for those people.
I'm so happy to hear that in Europe, many of the countries, and I know they're starting it here, that there's pharmacies. So you go, the people who are suffering from domestic violence will go to the pharmacy and they slip a note to the pharmacist. It says mask 20 is their code at this time. But then they immediately have the police go out and check. But so there are some things that people are starting to do because all those resources are gone. They're not able to get the support they need. They're locked in with their perpetrators. You're absolutely right. And so I know that this is a movement that started, that is the pharmacies are staying open and they are a safe place.
Well, I was thinking that there might be something too, like put a sticker in your window or put a stuffed animal in your window, because people are walking too. Like if you can't get to the pharmacy, because a lot of people in that situation, their abuser will not let them out the door. Their abuser is the one going out and getting the alcohol and the groceries and the cigarettes and the things that they need. So that's where my mind was like, how can you put a stuffed animal in the window to let walker-bys know that have someone in my house?
Well, let's research that a little bit more. I think that is important, especially when you've got children too who are in abusive homes and they don't have access. Yeah.
So right now, I mean, so there's kind of different levels of the anxiety and the depression and the freaking out because of what's happening. So we've got, the addiction, we have mental illness, depression is huge. But there's a lot of us that are walking that fine line. I personally am outgoing. You guys know this, so I definitely struggle more without the human touch. It's weird for me not to hug someone. But the depression comes in, and so there's that thought of suicide that comes in, and now it's really quite common for a lot of people that are at the state where I'm at at least think about it. So when you were talking about the drug addiction and how they're kind of going, well, we probably won't even live anymore. And that's exactly where their head state is. And I can completely relate to that. Like, what's the fucking point anymore? So, I've worked hard. But right now I'm someone who's dependent on my job to pay for my life. And so when you can't do your job anymore because of something that's out of your control, how do you cope with that? So there's a lot of people riding that fine line right now where they've been okay, but they might not be okay in a week, in 2 weeks, in a month. Who knows if they will ever recover from the lack of income through this time. So we're dealing with a lot of different levels of anxiety and depression. So I know, Molly, you've been thinking a lot about this, and I wanted to hear what you've been kind of thinking about and what you wanted to reach out to people who are going through this.
Well, my biggest thing, I think, is, with, and I know some of this might sound trite, but it's tried and true. The reality of your life is really truly what you have control over, right? Like we go back to the serenity prayer that's in the 12-step programs, but I mean, really, it's applicable. What if this is absolutely in your control and you can do something about it? And what is absolutely not? And I think right there is an empowering place to be, because at that very moment, you are remembering that you have choice. With a situation like this, and where everything is shutting down, your livelihood, everything, you feel like you have no choice. Everything is happening to you. And it is. And there are still some things that are in your power. And no matter how small that is, it's really important to look at what do you have control over in your life. And it might just be that you can put on your shoes and go for a walk out to your backyard and look at the birds. That is a choice that people who during the Holocaust didn't have when they were locked up in a attic room or in the walls. You know, I mean, I'm saying this is really basic stuff because this is where we have to go. Unfortunately, we are in a country that only values productivity. It only values wealth and your ability to make a name for yourself and to be able to provide. And when something like this happens, people completely lose their sense of who they are. That who they are, they don't even deserve to be on the planet if they're not producing or doing what they normally do. And so this basic, and we're also a nation of people who don't have a faith or a lot of values. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you just struck a point with me because the last 2 years I've been on a very spiritual journey, and that's a lot of self-reflection and looking at my behaviors. And one of the things that I have realized through this last 3 weeks in particular is looking for my authentic self. What is my authentic self? And I've been going back to who was I before all of the social pressures to be somebody, to make a living, to find the right man, to get married, to have the children, the blah, 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 the generational expectations that our immigrant ancestors have put on us, right? So I've been going back to the period of time in my life between like 10 and 13. And it's like,
yes,
who was that free spirit? The Lori that loved to just feel the grass underneath me and look up at the clouds and just be happy in that place. That's the person I'm looking for. And I think that's part of the big pause for everybody is this gives us a minute in time to really be blessed to have that opportunity to find our authentic selves again. Who are we underneath all of those layers of social expectations?
It's a privilege. It's a big privilege.
So I actually refer to the show Stranger Things a lot. So I hear you for sure. And I teeter on both sides of that spiritual journey. And I teeter also on the darkness side of life because I've seen it and I've lived it. So I refer to those of you who haven't had kind of that level of understanding on what it must be like for somebody who's feeling depressed alone in their house. And I refer to the Stranger Things movie show because it's like that it's like the underworld of that. It's like the alternate reality. It's dark. There's monsters. They're completely alone. It's scary. It gives me goosebumps just talking about it because I've felt it and I've seen it. So that's what I really wanted to talk about today is how we can help out these people that are in that room alone right now that are having these scary thoughts because because nothing that we can say about how it helps us with our spiritual journey is going to get that person out of that place that's that dark.
So that's where behavior, that's where it comes down to, because it is true that, there's a lot of thought about, and especially in Buddhist thinking, that action follows thought. Well, it also is the other way around. Behavior follows thought. And a thought will follow behavior. And I do think that when you're in that dark place, it doesn't matter what anybody says. It can't touch it. You're untouchable. And the only thing that I find important for at that moment is to have, there's somebody who you can reach out to who's going to normalize that for you, because this is a normal feeling. Yes. People do get depressed. Many people feel like dying. They feel like they wish they wouldn't wake up again, or they feel like ending their life. It is something that is a common experience. It's more common to have depression, to have anxiety, than it is to never have experienced it. And I think the more actually we talk about these things, the more we get rid of that stigma, and we're not alone. And allowing people to go through it, like true unconditional support. You are allowed to feel like shit.
Right.
This is hard. And, I don't know when it's going to get better, but I'll tell you what, I'm going to be here with you. I'll tell you that.
Something that I've noticed for me personally, because of, finding my friend dead through suicide, I've turned it to this place where I can have that conversation with somebody who has gone through something similar, because there's not a ton of us who have, gone through that unique experience where we found the body. And it's because you deal with the PTSD, because it's not normal to see something like that, but there's also the emotional connection. So I've been able to turn what I've seen in that darkness that I've experienced into something that, like, to have that normal. It was a conversation that I had with a young man who had just found his father dead 2 months prior. And because I was willing to talk about it with him, I mean, he just lit up, because I was the first person he had talked to that understood completely that kind of fucking darkness that you are existing in that moment. And I was talking to him like, this is just my experience. And some people can't handle that when you're just talking about it. But I think it's so important to talk about it, because we've all, in different kind of levels, maybe have experienced somewhat of darkness like that, whether it's abuse or, just crazy families.
Yeah.
I mean, all of these new identities are coming out sexually, and finally, like, coming to the surface, which is a new thing. So there's a lot of things. And like what you were referring to, Lori, a lot of people haven't had the opportunity to actually hang out with themselves, and they don't even know who they are, because they've been so consumed in the white picket fence and what we have to do in the productivity of life. So it's an interesting subject to talk about all this, but it's important.
So many layers to it. It's delicious. It's like this incredible, the more you look at it, right? And it's true that it depends. It is a lot of different levels. It depends on where you're at. How anxious are you? Some people you can do let's do some tapping. Let's go for a walk. How about I distract you? And they're fine. Then there's others that you go down the absolute deepest panic attack. You're not going to be able to just talk them out of that. So I think what is the most important thing for all of us to know is to get comfortable with discomfort. We're so afraid of being in pain. We're afraid of mental pain. We're afraid of physical pain. We try to anesthetize. We distract ourselves. It is a human experience to be uncomfortable. And I think the more we recognize that is normal, it's actually more acceptable. It's more acceptable. It's like, yeah, you know what? Some days I wake up and I really don't, my feet don't work. They hurt, whatever. But we have this weird idea, and I know it's because of social media as well, that we're always supposed to be in a certain mood, at a certain productivity level, to look a certain way. And it's not, it's false.
Well,
that adds to the depression.
And both genders have their set of social expectations. Both genders.
Yes, they do. Well, let's not even, well, that could be a whole other topic. We could really go into the toxic masculinity that has done a huge disservice to the men on our planet and the women on our planet and our children and the planet itself. So yes, there's so many aspects of, but I do feel that if we get down to the basics, it's learning to be human. How do we just be human? And in all those imperfections, which are absolutely crucial for the human experience and for us to develop empathy, to develop understanding and compassion, we have to feel and we have to hurt. That's just part of the growth.
I agree. It goes back to we have to kind of go through these things to learn these lessons. And right now, globally, we're learning the same lesson. So some of us have kind of we've been learning a long time. Some of us, this is the first time that this is like shaky, rattling in their world. So we've got all kinds of angles coming in. So that actually moves me to kind of the next thing that I was thinking about. And that is, and it's super important for me to get out to our listeners, is maybe we could all share some tools that we use personally to retrain how we react to things.
I love it.
So I can start, guys. So it gives you guys a minute to think about what tools you want to share. For me, as you all know, I'm a driver, and I'll give you an example. And I know both of you have heard this from me before, but I'm going to share it again. It's finding tools to retrain how you react to things. From somebody speaking from a lot of trauma in my life, but has been putting in the work. When I'm reacting to something, and I'll give you an example, when I'm driving, around and I'm stuck in traffic and I'm just feeling stuck, that feeling of stuck. So your kind of body crushes in. So I played music. For me is always the key. I play a song called Miles Apart, and it's talking about how we're side by side yet miles apart. So it's talking about the disconnection in the world, and it would adjust my attitude. So before you knew it, I didn't have to play the song anymore because I just thought of it. Whenever I was feeling stuck, I instantly retrained how I was going to react to it, and I actually started to feel a physical shift, emotional and a physical shift in how my body was releasing that. So it doesn't mean that I'm not still stuck in traffic, but it means how I'm processing it has changed. So I'm a huge advocate on finding what your tools are to help you retrain how we react to things, because that's how we can really truly shift a lot of our behavior right now. So who wants to go next?
I'll go. For those of you who have been listening to our podcast, you know that I've been on a really kind of deep introspective journey for the last year and a half. And I started meditating November of, what would that be, 2018 now. So, and I know people hear the word meditation and they go, I can't even sit down for 5 minutes by myself. And I'm saying now we have the opportunity to start with 5 minutes of just silence and listening to yourself breathe. If that's all you can do is listen to yourself breathe. And prior to this last 18 months, I had been reading a lot of self-help books and a lot of things on the law of attraction and manifestation and this, that, and the other. And a lot of this, through that journey, I kept hearing two words. I kept hearing coach and mentor. Coach and mentor. And me being a stubborn alpha female, goal-oriented and driven, it was like, I don't need no damn coach or mentor. I can do this on my own. I don't need nobody to tell me what to do. I can read on my own. I can do this. And it came down to, after about 8 years of attempting to do that I reached out and I found a coach and a mentor. And guess what? Life changed. So it's that connection with somebody that's not your family member or even your friend that can give you authentic, honest feedback, and you have the option to take it or not. Take it or not. But those two things have really, really changed my whole life. So those are the two tools that I wanted to put out there.
Well, thank you for, actually putting an advertisement out there for those of us whose profession is to be that objective person, and there's a reason why therapy does work. Having somebody who's unbiased, who will listen, who has actually studied techniques, you know, I think it's so funny, but we all do. We all go there like, I'm going to pull myself up by my own bootstraps and like, wait, it might actually be more helpful to use a shoehorn.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why they were created.
Yeah, exactly. So I have a couple different levels. So when I'm in acute stress, I mean like freaking out, I cannot think, because you know what happens, right? When we're upset, we lose our whole frontal lobe. And so we're not thinking. You got it. We flip our lids. And so the biggest thing that I have found so effective is either immediately going into some push-ups, like I got to get it out of my body. You got a physical. Or if you can, this is the most effective, and I know it sounds crazy, but you put a whole bunch of ice cubes in a bucket with water and you plunge your head in it. It immediately, what it does is it tells your body, I know this sounds scary, that you're drowning. And it releases all these endorphins. You got to hold your breath for about 20 seconds to 30 seconds. And I will tell you that will stop a panic attack like nobody's business, or any kind of freak out. So once you got your head back on, I love mantra work, right? So meditation or mantra, you've got your song, anything that immediately elicits a response in your body that it feels like calming. So for me, I always say, I am loved. I am loved. I am safe. And I say that until I believe it. And it doesn't take long now because I've been doing it. Like, like Naomi Sue said, you do it a few times and then your body knows. And that's the behavioral stuff I'm talking about. When we don't need to believe it to still do it. But the action of it, these are tried and true wisdoms that have been around for thousands of years because they work. They work.
I couldn't agree more with you, Molly. It's possible to do these things, and when we think about also looking at our past, and some people are so overwhelmed by their past because it's giving them their behavioral that they are dealing with now, and a lot of them don't want to deal with their past. And it's not that you have to deal with your past, because it's there and it's actually made you who you are today, and that can be a beautiful gift. But like you said, it requires action, and that seems to be the theme of our podcast, like through and through, like in every discussion. It's action in everything that we're doing, and action with yourself. Like if you don't find the time because you don't think you're worth it, then how are you to give it to anyone else? So it starts at home. It starts with yourself. You are worth it. Like, you got to put the effort into yourself. Go ahead, Lori.
So one of the things that I really, and for those of you who have listened to our earlier podcast, you know that too, but one of the tools that I created for myself was the constant chatter in my head, the constant chatter that we get, especially when I call it spinning, when you're spinning on a topic or you're spinning on a conversation that you need to have or you should have had. Oh, I should have said this. Damn it. The next time I'm going to say this, and you just sit there and spin on it. Well, to me, that's my ego controlling my spirit. So I named the bitch, and I named her Lego, Lori's ego, Lego. And one of the tools that really helped me was I would recognize that Lego was taking over my whole existence in my head. So I would shut that bitch up and I would say, Lego, shut the fuck up. You're in time out. Go sit. And Lego likes to talk to me when I'm in the car a lot. That's because I was a captive audience, right? So I would tell Lego to sit her ass over in the park in the passenger seat and shut the fuck up. Just shut the fuck up. I'm gonna listen to music, and I would turn music on, and I would really focus on the lyrics of the song to try to get the spinning to stop. Because to me, that's the key to having inner peace: is you've got to stop the spinning.
Well, the naming it is so key. And because once you do that, you externalize it outside of just yourself. Now it's something that's other than you. And you are more than just that one. You're more than Lego. And for me, I have Wendy. Wendy is the one who, she's crazy. She thinks she can drive the bus sometimes. She's that part of myself that's like out of control. And I'm like, who the hell let Wendy drive the bus? And I have to tell her to get the freaking back of the bus. She doesn't get kicked off because she's, Wendy. But she just wants to go to the back. And I do think also about how I've always loved studying the saints. I was raised Catholic and I've been recovering ever since. But there's so much to it.
Same.
And one of them is I've loved the saints. And St. Francis used to refer to his body as a donkey. And it was just a stubborn donkey. And sometimes it wanted to eat bad things and it didn't want to eat its greens. And sometimes it didn't want to go for a walk. And it would do. And he just would talk to himself that way, like, donkey, it's time for a walk. Now you can't just eat sweets. You've got to eat your hay. It's like, and I like thinking of ourselves that way. Sometimes we're labs and we don't know how to drop the freaking ball. Just drop it. I have a lot more compassion for animals sometimes than I do for myself. So I always like using an analogy of animals.
Well, what's another name for a donkey? And that's a stubborn ass, right?
That's right. That's right.
Oh, it's so, and really we do have the power to call ourselves out, because there isn't anybody that knows you better than yourself. So it's take the time. Like you said, you got to put yourself in timeout sometimes. And so, we have to, and that's the thing, you guys, is that we've got to constantly remind ourselves of our powers. We have to remind ourselves of our ability to choose, our gifts, and all of those things like choice, not living in fear, just trusting. I mean, there's a lot of good words that we could throw out there, but it's that time to remember those every single day. And I talk about that. That actually brings up a thought. We were doing Prayer Song, this music project, for a year. And I remember talking on the phone with this guy, Randy, who was kind of my husband's adopted father. He was more of the fatherly figure in his life. And we were talking about, like, we had this project and the song, and it was going to affect the world, and we were going to include all these voices. And there was something that he said to me that I have remembered forever. And maybe this will help somebody else out there, is to set yourself up for victory rather than failure. So when you think that you can save the world, let's bring it down to like the town you live in. Or
the person you live with.
Or like the region. And so he was telling us with Prayer Song, it was like conquer your city first, move to the next one, and so on and so forth. And so I actually have used that advice in just my own life and on a day-to-day basis because of the things that I've gone through in my life. If I didn't bring myself to where I was in the day and the victories that I had in the day, I wouldn't be sitting here now. So I'm constantly telling myself every day about the victories that I accomplished in that day. And they may be so small, but to other people, but to me, it's a big deal. And I feel really good about living in that present moment and talking and changing my behavior, actually. Even in a moment where I'm sparked with something, because right now people's emotions are on edge. So that happened to me recently where I accidentally freaked out, and then I remembered immediately for the first time. I was like, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to react. And so I'm getting to a better place personally where I'm not reacting to someone else. And that could be just somebody cutting me off. it's like I'm done giving those people my power.
Well, you bring up a really great point too that I think we need to. I want to put it out there. We are going to react. We're going to have our little tizzy fits. We're going to have those moments. How quickly you recover is a huge sign of how well you're doing the work. You know, we are going to lose our shit. But how quickly does it take you to recover from that? To say you're sorry or to see where you need to. And I think that's another big part of self-love and self-care is to forgive ourselves really quickly. Yeah.
Yeah, I thank you for bringing that up. Go ahead, Lori.
So, Molly, I wanted you to maybe share because I think fear is one of the bigger things, one of the bigger self-limiting beliefs that everybody has. And in this situation, I think fear is really what might be setting off the anxiety and the depression at a higher level. So,
Yes.
what kind of tools do you have for that? And then I want to talk also about failing forward because I believe that failing forward is something that we need to maybe address too. So fear and failing forward.
Love it. Well, the fear, first of all, if you're in really in that acute fear, there's nothing you really can do except for do something physical, like I said, or plunge your head into some ice water. It really will snap you out of that. And then you can go to, this is where I always ask, who is benefiting from my fear? Who is making money from my fear? Who is profiting from this amount of fear? Because there's a lot that's generated just because it makes money, because it helps sell a politician, because it helps sell whatever. So first source out, where's this fear coming from? And then going into good old cognitive behavioral stuff, looking at what is of a threat right now. And really what it's called this by many, dialectical behavior therapy is one therapy I really love, DBT, and they call it coping ahead. So what is something that you need to cope for ahead? That's a fear that's maybe down the line. And what's one that you have to face right now? And what's a priority? And what is just part of the collective? So these are all, but you need your brain to be functioning in order to break those things down. And in order to get to your brain to that function, you first have to interact with something big. But fear is often there because it's been placed by somebody else. And fears also, for women, we'll often go to fear. We feel more comfortable feeling afraid than we do feeling angry. And men are the opposite. Men more often feel comfortable feeling angry rather than afraid. So they act that way. So for women, I'm often like, I'm afraid, but what am I angry about? I'm afraid because my life is in the hands of an idiot who is running this country and making it impossible for people to stay safe. So am I more afraid or am I more angry? So it's really about getting very clear about what your emotions are. We get a lot more literate, emotionally literate.
So what was the fear and then what else?
Failing forward, and we kind of talked about this a little bit prior to going live on the podcast, and I don't know, I had a message or I have a belief system now. Fear of failing has really driven me to two different things. It's driven me to be very successful in academics and my career, but it's really driven me to being very fearful in moving out of that comfort zone, which is where I need to be going personally right now. But failing forward is something that I'm really interested in right now because I believe that every life challenge and every hurdle and every obstacle is a lesson. And that lesson will continue to come at you. You have a choice every time it's in front of you. You can either learn from it or you can ignore it. And I, for one, have ignored a lot of lessons over my past. And those same lessons come back to hit me in the head again and hit me in the head again until I finally say, wow, there's something here. And I'm the common denominator in this situation. So what do I need to change? So I call failure, I prefer the word feedback almost over failure. So how do I learn from the feedback of these lessons that I'm getting to change my behavior so I can move forward in a different direction and hopefully positive?
It helps having somebody to talk to, huh?
Yeah, it does. So it really does come down to so many of the people who are successful. They knew they were going to fail. And it's like you go into there. So again, I'd spoken about it earlier, but we as human beings just need to get more comfortable with being uncomfortable. We are going to fail. And that's the only way that growth happens. Growth hurts. It stretches. It feels uncomfortable. It's supposed to. And also the challenge. So there's a great book called Mindset that was out many years ago. But it was about people who look at challenges either as something that, oh, this is going to take me down and I can't go through it, or, oh, yeah, I'm going to meet this challenge and I'm going to go forward. And they don't set a goal like my goal is to run the marathon, because you might get to that goal and then you'll never run again. But your goal may be, I'm going to be a runner. And maybe your goal is, I'm going to be an entrepreneur, or I'm going to be a writer. Not that I'm going to sell and publish this amazing novel. No, you might not ever get to that, or you might get to that point and then you'd never write again. The goal is to set goals that are actually attainable and in alignment with your value system. And you become then who you've always wanted to be. So I am a risk taker. Just saying that to yourself. I'm somebody who takes risks. That assumes that somebody is not afraid to make some failures and to fall on their butt sometimes. But it also means you get up, you get off your ass and you try again. So it is a mind frame that you flip. I know that a lot of I think it was Kate Spade. She had a family whose father every day at the dinner table would ask, I don't care about what you did that was great today. Tell me what you did that you totally failed spectacularly at. And the family would compete, with the, I asked this girl out and she totally dissed me. Oh, that's a good one.
Gave them the courage to keep doing it, because that's great. That's a great idea. That's a good tool.
Yeah. It's a great tool. And the other part that I really love too is we need to start looking at our lives as an experiment. It really is. We're scientists in our own life. Oh, wow, that sure didn't go well. I guess I won't mix the sulfur with that next time. Or, I'm gonna and having a sense of humor about it. We are built to make mistakes. And within those mistakes, some of the greatest inventions occur, right?
It's true. I mean, if we refer to the animal world, I'm a huge animal fan, and I've obsessed over all the nature shows. It is so obvious that we as humans are right there with them, and what we have is our brains. But we are still human. We're animals. We still, like you said earlier, we're not perfect. There's no way we can attain that level of perfection. It's just not trapped in these stupid human bodies that we are walking around with. I mean, it's not possible. It's how we're wired, and so I think it's a beautiful thing to talk about today, you guys, because we do have the power to make more of the shift to the positive side, because I do feel right now with this virus that's happening globally and where it's putting us all, is that we have because everything after this can't be the same, because the reason that we're here is because it's been the way that it was. So everything does have to change. That change doesn't have to be scary. We can start practicing our tools now so that we are armed for the change that can come, which is going to be more beautiful for us as humanity, and the planet's going to be much happier with us. And this is definitely the route that we all need to start taking. So let's start I'm going to kind of challenge everybody this week. And I'm going to, because everybody's different and everybody needs something different. So my challenge for everybody this week is to find one tool for one reaction that you have this week. So that's one. And when you're looking ahead right now with the coronavirus and everything that's happening, and so I want everybody to meditate or think about, or whatever state, or being mindful of the change that is ahead of us. And instead of seeing it as something that is negative, let's find it as something positive. Like, oh, we might all be more self-sustainable. We might be buying our food differently. We are going to be better neighbors. We could be coming together more as a community, better than ever. So the change that could come after this could be actually more beautiful than the world that we've been existing in. But it takes all of us to get to that space. So find your tool to something that you react to this week and work on it. Every time that trigger comes up, shift it out. Also, reach out to a group. For me, I found a group called Conscious Growth. Sometimes we just get on there and breathe. And it's an awesome reminder just to also breathe. So let's reach out to find a group of people that are like-minded in where you are spiritually right now or where you want to be, so that we can all help each other through this. Go ahead, Lori.
Yeah, and I think I love your idea about finding a tool, Naomi. And I think to help with that human connection, I want to challenge people to find somebody to hold accountable. Hold me accountable to my tool, and I'll hold you accountable to your tool, which will also give me a contact point if I'm starting to spin in my head, or if I just need that human connection, somebody that I can trust with and be vulnerable. Ooh, there's another big topic that we haven't talked about is vulnerability. Be vulnerable. Right.
I think that's a great idea, Lori, because as humans, we constantly leapfrog. So it's something that in our daily videos that we talk about a lot. It's like, if you're the one that's feeling inspired, reach out to those who aren't feeling as inspired. But you're right, find a buddy, like a quarantine buddy, that you can be held accountable, so that we can leapfrog this together and we can help keep the vibration high.
That doesn't live in your house. That does not live in your house. Somebody outside of your immediate quarantine zone.
Yes.
That's a very necessary footnote.
Right?
But I totally agree with all of that. I just wanted to add an extra exclamation point to being really available, that no matter what situation you're going through, there is somebody out there who knows and has been there and can be somebody who's marking the trails for you. And so I love that, to find out where are your people? They are out there. So anyway, I just love, and I think this conversation is an important one, because we really do need to lighten up. For our world to lighten, we need to lighten. So we just bringing that all in. And thank you for this opportunity.
Yeah, of course. Well, we'll probably end up doing it again, I imagine, down the road. We really appreciate you coming in, Molly, because we're all in this together, you guys. There's so much love coming from us three ladies to all of you out there. I mean, so much love and compassion. Please reach out. We love you. Take care of yourself. Hug yourself. There's a couple of songs that I wanted to plug, because that's what I do. And if you know me, you know that music can be an extremely powerful tool. So there's a couple of songs that we've posted on our daily video blogs. And I'm not sure if any of you have listened, but I really want you guys to take the time to listen to these 3 songs. One of them is called Won't Back Down by Hybrid. It is a 7-8 minute long song, and the music takes you through the emotion of how you're feeling through life, the ups and the downs. Her voice is so powerful, and of course it's a Tom Petty remake. It is so beautiful. If you are feeling that sad and that down and you don't have anybody available, put yourself in the captain's chair, cry it out, listen to that song, feel it come through your chicken skin. Like, it's going to raise that vibration for you. It could save your life. Another one is my tool, and it's more fun and dancey and peppy, and it's called Miles Apart, and it's talking about the disconnection in the world. And there's a line in the song, and this is why I want you to listen to it, because it's a good reminder. It's remember to give yourself a hug because you deserve love. So it's really about nurturing yourself and just noticing what's going on around the world. And also, just for personally, I found a new song, and I think I sent it to both of you, and it's called Everybody. And so you guys can refer to all of these tracks. And I mean, I think it's Jose Burgos or Burgos or something like that. But it's just talking about how I need love, how we need love every day. It's just that I need love every day. So there's a couple of songs for you guys to listen to. I really hope that it brightens your day, maybe save your life. Anyway, go ahead, Lori.
So your world is music. My world is physicality. I'm a physical therapist by profession. So I would also encourage you to get on YouTube and find a yoga practice. Tie your tennis shoes on your feet and get out there and walk. Move your bodies. You have got to get off the couch, get away from all screens, and do something physical, especially if your head is spinning. You know, name your ego, shut that bitch up, that bastard, whatever, that motherfucker, whatever you want to call it.
Wendy.
Couch, put your shoes on and literally walk away from them for a few minutes. Do something physical to help you through this time frame.
Amen. I just wanted to quickly say yes, and I've been hula hooping every day, and I've been learning through the YouTubes. YouTube's a miracle. And when my head's spinning, so is my hoop.
I'm gonna go get me a hula hoop.
Yeah, I wish I had my hula hoop too. Yeah, that's a great idea. It's true. The physical exercise can definitely raise the serotonins, and that's a necessary thing. So for sure, you guys. So I wanted to actually, so this is how we're going to wrap it up today, guys. Thank you so much. But before we go, I want to kind of normalize it, and I wanted to everybody share kind of a moment, a thought that they had for the week, just to kind of normalize where our headspaces are personally in this week. Something cool that happened to you. So I'll go ahead and go first. I'm super excited about this, and then I'll give you guys time to think about what's happened to you. So yesterday, we talking about meditation. I got an article from another friend here in Portland, and basically there was an astral gate open yesterday. It was 7:45 our time in Portland, Oregon. So it was the 4th of April yesterday here, but for the people in Europe and Asia and all those other countries, it was the 5th. And so spontaneously, thousands and thousands of people meditated at the exact same time last night. And it was such a powerful thing to really just focus on the love and the light going through all of these humans that are around the world. Like, my meditation was this phoenix kind of blanketing over the world with just healing. And then it was like these bright lights coming up from the core of the earth through our human bodies out into the solar system. And then leaving the virus out, like away from our human bodies that are too fragile to take it, and just to zone in on that power of the universe. And so after this meditation was done, thousands and thousands of they wouldn't stop coming in with people from around the world last night meditating with us. And so hell yeah to those of you who were in on that special 20 minutes and to talk about raising the vibration. I'm sure more of those opportunities will come up, so keep an eye because that's powerful. So yay!
I wanted to say that was going to be my share. So I did that. I did that last night, and I had at least 30 friends who I connected with it as well. And there were people who had never meditated before and people who had never even thought about it. And they were saying, I felt something. I'm like, yeah, that's what happens when so many people tap in at the same time all around the planet. So I want to tag onto that because I think that is how we remember. We put back together ourselves. And when we are together, when we bring into a consciousness like this, we all remember. And it just, it was beautiful. So thank you.
That's a perfect segue to what I want to share because I spoke earlier about looking at my authentic soul. And for me, that's going back to my 10 through 13 kind of years, that girl who was full of dreams and aspirations and didn't have all of the social economic pressures on me yet. And I was walking my dog the other day, and I grew up in Kansas. So the sky, the grass, but I found a dandelion bud, that you blow all the seeds out of. And I saw that, and there was only one in this whole area that I was walking at. And I was like, that's a sign. That is such a sign. And so I went over to that one little thing. I took a picture of it so that I would remember it. And I picked it and I blew and I watched all the little seeds fall out into the earth. And it just took me back to my authentic self. It was such a moment of authenticity. I'm like, there she is.
You just made me cry.
Oh,
that was beautiful.
And then a whole flock of geese came and glided in and landed right after that.
What? Oh, so good. So good.
All right, you guys, we all three send you so much love and light, so much strength and courage. Be brave, love yourself, ask for help, ask for accountability. Let's grow with the planet. Let's really feed off of this higher vibration that's happening right now, and keep an extra eye out for it's just time, you guys. It's time. It's
It's okay if you don't do it gracefully. You can really, full permission.
Absolutely. Well, we're stupid human bodies. You gotta laugh about your stupid human bodies that we're trapped in. So
they're just shells. They're just shells for our spirit.
All right, you guys. Lori and I have been doing videos, just encouraging you guys to use your feet and dance and sing and just do something. Check them out if you want a little bit of daily inspiration or just a daily thought. As fun, like I said, we've been sharing a lot of good music, so it's all fun and games. So please reach out to us, and we are trying to build a global community of nice holes. Because it's the opposite of being a fucking asshole. So you guys can check us out at therealshit.net. And Molly, thank you so much. We would love to have you on again. Your spirit is so beautiful, and we love you. And also, Molly and I both came from the same town, actually, which is crazy. Because we didn't make the connection till later, but Sun Valley, Idaho, and our little hometown is actually getting hit pretty hard right now. And I know your mom's there, and my son is there, and so healing energy to our little town that we come from, and our family that's over there right now. So, all right, you guys, peace and love, and don't forget to be a nice hole.